The RC series of sports bikes from KTM, they are special, right? They gave us our first taste of 25 bhp, 45 bhp serious sports bike within a reasonable budget. But since they came out back in the day, nothing has changed on those motorcycles in a significant way. And that is important to know because this is the first time KTM is updating the RC series significantly. We're getting to see the 200 first, and before you ask, the 390 are slotted for January of next year. But we have a brand new motorcycle with us with a lot of changes under the skin. We have the test track all to ourselves. So let the games begin. Now let's get straight to the thing that's bugging all of you. The design of the motorcycle, right? As soon as the spy shots of this series of RCs came out, there was a hue and cry saying, what has KTM done? Because this is definitely distinctive, unique and nice looking, right? I'm going to tell you that now that I've seen it in the flesh, I understand what Kiska Design has been up to, because that does look a lot more like the MotoGP or the Moto3 bikes that KTM races today. More importantly, in the flesh, that fairing actually looks pretty decent. It's never going to photograph well from the front, this bike. But when you look at it in the flesh, it looks more premium, it looks more exclusive. And I can see that this form also creates a lot of functional benefit. From the integrated indicators in the front of the fairing, to the larger mirrors, to the fact that the bubble is higher so you can get under it more neatly. There's more wind protection if you're out on the highway on this motorcycle. I think that that actually really works. This is obviously a familiar, distinctive design, and this is a very large shift to take. But before you make up your mind about how that motorcycle looks, I urge you, go to the showroom and take a look at this motorcycle in the flesh. I promise you, you're going to be surprised by how nice this is in the flesh. The design of the RC definitely represents a generation change, right? But you'll be surprised to know that in this area, there is absolutely no hardware to talk about. This is exactly the same engine as before. But there are two changes. One, the radiator is now a curved unit. It's got 10% more surface area than before, so the bike should run a little bit cooler, and you've got a 40% larger airbox up here. Together, what KTM is saying is peak power and peak torque on the RC200 haven't changed, but there's more torque everywhere in the rev range. To the rider, what this means is, and I can verify this, based on my experience here, the old 200 was a very nice engine because you had to rev it out and it was really fun to do. So you wanted 25 bhp, you had to get to 10,000 rpm. On this motorcycle, the need to do it has been reduced. So you can have 5, 6, 7,000 rpm on the rev counter and you can still make quite significant progress, which is a substantial change from before. How does it translate to when you're riding this motorcycle on the street? That's what we have to find out. But they're telling us that the big change is on the 390, and therefore I can't wait to wish you guys a happy new year. So the styling, dramatic change, engine, not so dramatic change. So what's the story of the frame? Well, primary trellis frame, no changes at all. Steering geometry is the same, wheelbase is approximately the same, but KTM have been very clever about where they've made changes, and it's all in the unsprung mass. To put it simply, this motorcycle weighs the same at curb as the last RC200, but dry, this motorcycle is 3.5 kilos approximately lighter, all of which is coming from unsprung mass. So those are lighter wheels, but they're stronger. You've removed completely the steel carrier on the front rotor, and that disc is now a 320 mm unit, so there's more brake force available. The rear shock unit is the same, but the front fork has 10 mm more travel. And at the back, on the sprocket, they've not changed the gearing, but the sprocket unit itself is much lighter. Together, it really feels nicer to ride because it does feel lighter to steer, it feels more responsive, it feels more natural. That sort of deliberate thing that the old RCs used to do, it's completely gone, and I suspect on the street, where a lot of these RC200s will be ridden, this will be a much superior motorcycle to ride.
The surprise is that the RC200 is so much easier to extract performance from in corners that it puts the spotlight firmly on the tires. And while they're okay otherwise, unfortunately close to the limit, the MRFs just don't inspire confidence. Makes me wish the bike had better stock tires, like the Apollo H1 or the TVS Eurogrip Pro Torque Sport.
So KTM have been rather clever with the new RC200. The styling, I think it works, but you tell me what you think in the comments. The engine, no significant changes, but the changes do feel nice. And remember, my experience says RC390s will go to the racetrack a lot, RC200s will almost never go to the racetrack. So how they feel on the street specifically is very important, and the engine change as well as the fact that the clip-ons are higher and closer are both superb changes for people who will ride this bike on the street. Of course, the clip-ons are adjustable, which means you can lower them 15 mm. That's the stock European position if you want a more committed riding position as well. KTM have also made other small changes which I really enjoyed, and I'm not just talking about this unsprung weight and all of that. There's changes like these little knobs, all of them fold, which means if you're hard into a corner or you're falling, the chances that you'll break this lever in half have been minimized again. The seat similarly, it's a big change, and it's not the suede material. It's the fact that the seat is flat. The old RCs, it sort of felt like the rider was tipped forward like this because the seat was at an angle. Now the seat is flat, so you feel more confident, and it's also narrower in the front, so you'll get your feet down easily as well. So net, the RC200 is probably going to be the street sports bike of the series, and from that perspective, this motorcycle is a definite improvement. I wish that the improvement was more dramatic, but luckily at least the price has not changed at all. So this is more or less the same price as the outgoing RC200. But KTM India does have the opportunity to revisit the price of this motorcycle when they launch the 390 in January 2022. Do you think they should do that? Do you think it's a good idea? Leave us a comment. And if you've got more questions about the RC200, the 390 or the 125, do leave us a comment so we can attack them in the FAQs for the videos that will come when we get to ride those motorcycles as well. Thank you so much for watching. I've hit all the buttons on this motorcycle today, so now it's your turn. There's 4 I'd like you to hit. Subscribe, the bell notification icon, like and share. Thank you so much for watching.